pronouncing it right. And it's the onset of our period, so your very first menstrual flow. I don't know if you remember yours, but there's so many stories of how, you go to school, and back in my day, it wasn't really a conversation that you would have with your parents, so it kind of took you by surprise. So you'll go to school, be running around playing with the boys and all of that, and all of a sudden, you see blood. You've kind of been expecting it, because you know how kids are, will talk about it and stuff, and then suddenly life has changed, and every month you have to deal with these 3, 5, or 7 days, depending, when you're in pain sometimes, emotional sometimes, just a general wreck sometimes, and it kind of just goes on for the rest of your life. But it's also something that, when it doesn't show up, causes a lot of stress, because it's a rite of passage, biologically, physically, and all of that. But joining me in the studio to have this conversation, somebody who's way more qualified than I am to talk about this, is Dr. James Boakye. He's a gynecologist at Lekma Hospital. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning.
Very nice to have you here. Very nice to see you this morning.
Thank you.
So, in the first place, am I pronouncing it right?
You are.
Okay, awesome. So just if you can just take us through really what it is. Why is it even important? Why is it something that we look forward to?
Okay. So thank you for having me, and then good morning to your listeners.
Thank you for coming.
So you rightly said menarche is the initiation of the beginning of the menses. So in most cultures, it's when the woman or the young lady is initiated into womanhood. So in certain communities, till a woman has had her menses, she's not considered a woman. So that's when the period begins, and then we know when it ends. That's the menopause. But we are talking about menarche today.
Yes.
So what basically happens is that when you are born, a little girl, you are growing up, there are changes in the body, and at a certain point, you have to have your menses, and that's when the menarche occurs. I'll just go back a bit, and you talk about playing with the boys, and suddenly it comes. But it doesn't just creep on you like that.
Apparently.
because there are signs that will come up that you let you know that very soon it will happen.
Okay.
Research has shown that the average age is about, I will talk about the factors that affect, but now it's about 13, 12.7. Some even have it as young as 10, 11 years. Yes, so they have their menarche.
I'm saying Jesus Christ because my daughter is 10.
So you should
and we are expecting it.
So you should talk about it.
But we have.
Yes,
we have.
Which is good.
We have.
So what happens is that they start growing breast. The breast start budding. You see. So when the breast start budding, then I remember when we were in school, the way you remember is that you look at the breast bar, so you come up like that. Then it goes to the pubic hair.
Okay.
Then you come to the armpit.
Okay.
The hair in the armpit. Then the flow comes.
Right.
So when you have a little girl in the house around 8, and then she starts having breast buds. I remember, was it 2 days ago or something? My daughter, who is 8, calls me and said, Daddy, I'm developing breast. So I said, wow. And I said, I'm sure she was excited about whatever. But then I get to know that she's starting. So when you start having the breast buds, then the pubic hair will start. Then the axillary hair comes in, and then the menarche comes. So between getting the breast buds, if for about a maximum of 5 years in between that time, you achieve the menarche. So that's why I said it doesn't just creep up on you. You see the signs coming, and that's the time for you to have the discussion about it, for the little girl to know what the menstruation is and when to expect, so that when it comes, they are not startled, and then they know what it is, and then they can deal with it easily.
So, this conversation that has to be had. Have you had yours?
Unfortunately, no. I don't know if my wife has, but I haven't.
Okay, so let's start from that. So, as a parent, you notice that your daughter has developed, like you said, tiny little boobs, and then there's the pubic hair, and then there's the axillary hair. And you said it's between 5 years. It would normally show up between 5 years.
After you have the breast buds.
The breast buds. So when you say breast buds in the first place, it doesn't have to be not like full grown.
No. Actually, the breast has, there are a lot of stages. They are called tiny stages.
Okay.
The development, you just get the dot there. It becomes a mound, and then it's growing. So between when it starts growing, till it's fully grown. It's a process, and it doesn't stop for menarche to coming. So once the breast start developing, the pubic hair, then the menarche is also, there's a process, and it also begins. So when you start seeing
put in motion.
So when you start seeing that, they need to talk to them about it. And then the research has shown the age. I mean, like as I said, 12, 11, they are having their menses. I mean, and we'll talk about the implications of all of that, because there are stories, you know. And sometimes as young as 10, some even have it at 9. Yes. So when you see this thing, then you need to start talking to them about it. But I need to say at this point that there's something we call precocious puberty.
Okay.
Where some people have it less than 8 years. That one is come too early.
Okay.
And in a few cases it happens like that, but that's not the norm. Okay. So yes, that one is there as an outlier, and some of people too have it very delayed. So those are not the norm. But the norm and the average age is about 12.7, 13. Between 11 and 13, you have about a research was done recently, some time ago, among the young girls, and they found that about 90%, about age 13, would have had their menses.
Would have had, yeah.
This used to be, about 15, 16 in the past.
Yes, but it seems
now,
to have...
yes, because there are factors that control menarche. Apart from the genetic makeup and all that, there are other factors, and those factors have changed. So the age of menarche has now reduced for the ladies.
Okay, so I'll come back to the factors that control menarche, because I'm interested in that. But I want to talk about the conversation to be had and the emotional changes that come as well in our daughters. So how would you advise that you approach this conversation? It's funny because, you know, when I had this conversation with my daughter, when I started, she was like, "Mommy, I know. Everything that's mommy, I know. And we find that in this day and age, our children, you know, they're much more enlightened.
Yes.
And so do you succumb to, because it's pretty embarrassing already sometimes having the conversation, especially the way they look at you like, why are you doing this to me right now? Should we succumb to the fact that they've been taught in school? Or that they know, you know, do we wait until, we say, you know, so I'm going to wait until it comes and then all of that? Or should we have a conversation? And if we should, what kind of conversation?
Yes, very, very good question. But I must say that, currently the teachers are doing well in school, because
very well.
They teach them about this. I'm not surprised you said, I know.
Yeah.
But for me, I think I lost, but actually I haven't lost it, because it's less than a week ago. When she told me that, then we could have had...
It was a learning opportunity.
Yes, for us to have a discussion on what was going to happen. And I'm sure my daughter will be excited for me to talk to her about such things. For me, maybe not embarrassing, because that's what I do. It's easier for me to do that. Yes, and probably her mother can chip in, but I think it was a good opportunity for me to then sit her down, which I'm sure I'll do that very soon.
Very soon,
Just sit her down and know that these are changes that happen in a young lady. As you grow up, the breast will come, and then you start seeing pubic hair, then auxiliary hair comes, and then very soon you see there's something we call menstruation. That blood will come, and you have to be using pads and things like that. If there's a pad there, maybe I'll pick one and show it to her, so that it comes every month. It will come, so you need to have pads so that when it comes, you don't soil yourself and all that. So that when it happens, she doesn't think she's different or something strange is happening to her. We've had stories and even watched movies where the small ladies didn't know about menses and all that, and they were in pool with the other collie boys, and then the pool suddenly becomes red. And then they think that, hey, what's happening? Some witch has come or something like that.
Yeah.
So, and this is why it's also important that we engage the male children. They also need to know about this, so that when it's happening, they don't think it's something strange.
Yeah.
Because if you are in an environment where probably as you are playing with the boys and all that, and this happens, and they don't know what's happening, and they start calling it or doing other things, the emotional stress which is not a good thing. For a natural thing that is good, and then it becomes the other way. So it's important, and I think I must recommend the teachers for doing a lot, because they do. They
do.
And I think that it's made our work easier, because they do. When you start talking about it, I know, then it becomes easy for everybody.
But are there any indications leading up to maybe a few days before? Anything that would suggest that, you know, it's coming?
See, that's the thing about the early menses. When you see a grown woman who has had a menses for 10, 15 years or more, she can tell you that I'm going to menstruate.
Yeah.
Because the premenstrual syndrome, she knows her body But when you start having your menses, it doesn't do that.
There's
It just
no
creeps on
warning.
you. It will just come, because even the initial ones are not regular. You know, like for an old woman and an older woman, like usually every month it comes.
You can
It's a
calculate
long-
28, 21
or
days.
depending, you
to
know,
a
your cycle.
Yeah.
Yes, but even this one, the first one may come, and it will take maybe about 6 months before another one will come, and then maybe 3 months it will come. So it's irregular. It takes sometimes about 2 years for you to get a regular cycle. So that's the thing with the menarche when it starts. You can't really predict it. And it's just the same thing. Well, just digressing a little bit when you go to menopause, because when you are going to stop it stops maybe for 6 months, then 3 months it will come, then another 6 months. So it's the same thing. The way it starts, that's how it ends. You can't predict it.
Right.
So that's the challenge there.
Right.
So you need to have the talk, and then probably the first time it comes, depending on where you are, it may be an unexpected event. But if you are somewhere that, I mean, you can contain it, then good. But you can't. It's not easily predictable the first time.
Is the first flow heavy?
It depends. Usually not. Or it's another here nor there. See, what happens is that it's the response of the body to estrogens, like into the endometrium. That's the lining of the womb. Okay, so usually when the girl hasn't reached her menarche and all of that, the hormone levels are kept at bay. But as they grow, and as we don't know what triggers the trigger that is that it's time to achieve menarche start. I mean, there are research going on, but we can't pinpoint the exact thing.
Is that? But it's also like that with labor, isn't it?
You know, I mean,
Yeah.
we don't know. I mean, I have a client right now. I think she's 40 or something. And then she calls me, "Doctor, we are still pregnant too." It will come, you know. I mean, I don't know. The signs may start, and as you said with labor, depending on everybody, it may start having the signs now. It may take a day or two before it's finished, or somebody starts now and it comes. You can't really tell.
Yeah, you can't tell.
So that's the thing with this one. The trigger, we don't know. What tells the body to start going into the process.
Wow.
But at least when the process starts, it gives us signs.
Yes.
But we can't tell exactly, pinpoint the exact time, the exact moment when you are going to have that bleed. So the initial one may not be heavy. It could be, but I mean, usually not. Because it's the response of the endometrium to the estrogen levels that are increasing. And because at the point where the way the hormones are, it's a whole complex system from the brain down to the ovaries, and then they also release some hormones, estrogens that come into affect the endometrium. So then it tells the body that it shed the endometrium, and that's what comes out as the menses.
Yeah.
So it's not easily predictable. You can't see that it's going to come today or tomorrow. Then you wear a pad and then
So
prepare
that at
for
least
it.
you would be a little bit prepared.
You know, it's
I guess in having this conversation as well, we have to, with our kids, talk about the physical side of it. So I guess you would tell your daughter, expect some sort, if you feel a certain stickiness or a certain wetness, then you need to go and check, because apart from that, there's no way for her to know.
And it's important to tell them it's blood. You know, and little children and blood, like blood means you are hurt, like something has cut you and blood is coming out. But this is not, if I'm allowed, hurt blood.
Yeah,
you understand?
yeah.
They are not hurt. It's physiological. So they should know that it's a bloody something that will come. And I think that, I mean, probably you shouldn't even have it once. I mean, you talk to them, and as you see the signs that I talked about,
them.
just remind them so that when they come, they are aware, and then they embrace it, and then they enjoy their menarche.
And perhaps also, it would be a good time to put some pads in their school bags.
Probably.
I'm sure the
And
nurse.
that's what I was going to
at
say,
school
because
will
now the
have-
schools all have school nurses.
Yeah.
And I think that they have stock in the school, so they should.
But you know, the children of today, the girls of today, I feel like if you've had the conversation with them, and I'm basing this on my own experience, they will be more likely, if they know what to do, to go and do it and wait to come home to tell you about it.
It depends on how you relate with them. But then again, it's a possibility.
Yes.
But I think that the school nurses, I think they talk to them about hygiene and all that. I remember when we were in school, those days, they would check your fingernails, your teeth and all that.
Yeah.
Beat you if you are not properly cut and all that. They still do those things. So if she relates well with them, I mean, and they have these conversations, and then even the teachers, they will be able to confide in them and then talk to them before they get home. Or now, I mean, if they are worried, maybe call my mother, they can call you now. Phones are available, then you come and then. But it would be nice for the schools, if it happens in school,
Yeah.
For them to contain it.
To be able to contain
because
it.
you know how schools are.
Does the first period come with some amount of pain?
Usually not.
Okay.
Usually not. I mean, it's the first one, and usually not. It not to say that it cannot, because I've seen very young girls who have severe pain when they're having their period. But the first one, I mean, it's neither here nor there. You can't say yes or no.
So it'll be wow.
You can't.
So
you can't.
if it does come with some pain, what's the best thing to do?
So then that makes it a bit complicated, because it's the first time she's bleeding and she's having
in
pain, and she just go bonkers. She don't get confused and all of that. So I think in the conversation that we have, we need to also talk about it, that it may have some crampiness down there and all that. So it's about getting the person ready for what to expect. And you know, I mean, that's when people come to the hospital. They say the doctors and nurses, we don't tell them things, but it works when you tell the client what to expect. They embrace it well. When mommy, maybe I'm come to do this for you, so they prepare for it, and it makes your work even easier because they cooperate with you well. So I think in the talk that we'll have with them, we need to also emphasize that. I mean, it may or may not, usually not, but if it does, it's a normal thing.
Okay, why is there pain associated with menstruation in general?
Usually, there are a lot of conditions that I mean, the woman's body is a very complex something, you know, and endometriosis. It's good you are bringing this up. And there's something we call endometriosis. It's a very
heartbreaking condition. One of my best friends has it.
And the sad thing is that doctors don't understand, the nurses don't understand, because the pain. I mean, they don't understand the pain of endometriosis. So sometimes when the women are complaining, we think that they are exaggerating.
Yeah. But
it can be that bad.
Is it, if I'm right, that basically the shedding, all your organs are shedding something?
No, so endometriosis, as I told, the endometrium, is the lining of the womb. It should be there. It shouldn't be anywhere else.
Okay.
So if you have endometrial tissue outside
of
the cavity, the womb, the middle, the endometrium, it could be in the ovaries, and then it could be, it's when you open up a woman with endometriosis, we call it the frozen pelvis. It's like all the organs are matted together, and you can. The best way to deal with this laparoscopy, really nice. I mean, it's because it's enlarged and the pinhole, you can actually see and then remove all the cyst and all that's really nice. But it's very painful. And they have what you call this chocolate cyst thing. I mean, the are cysts that are for the brownish substance that looks like chocolate. So we call it chocolate cyst. And they can be very, 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 very painful.
Right.
And I mean, it gives you infertility and all that. That's another line altogether. But the pain, that's the thing. And because we don't understand, that sometimes the husbands don't even understand. So they think that as for you, you are exaggerating. And for some people, it's like it lasts for 2 weeks. So in a month, the only time they are free of pain is like maybe a week
half
or
of
two.
The month.
You understand? And it's not a nice thing.
So outside of endometriosis and, you know, possibly other conditions, is period pain something that is normal?
Slight crampiness. I mean, that's expected because the uterus is shedding the endometrium. So maybe a slight contract, not very severe one, but slight one. That's fine. I mean, and then it just flows. So slight pain. Yes, that's fine.
And obviously we're not given on-air prescriptions, but can be treated with over-the-drug medication.
Over the counter, yes. And some of them are bearable, but some of them too are not, depending on the root cause of the pain during menses. Some of them, I mean, the woman is going to start, she has some slight, maybe the first day, she has some slight pain, and then it goes up. But some so bad that they need to be admitted, or they can't go to work, they can't do anything. It affects their quality of life, and that one you don't want.
At which point do you need to take your daughter to the hospital if she's expressing some amount of pain?
You need, I mean, if probably she's achieved the menarche and it's continuing like that, you need to go and find out. And this is a very good question because maybe we didn't talk about it, but there are certain conditions that one of the commonest one that could cause a pain when that one you don't even see the blood coming out. We call it imperforate hymen. You know, the hymen is there are several cubiform. It's supposed to have a small. The hymen is the covering of the vagina.
Yes.
And it's broken during your first intercourse, or some will say bicycles or other things. Now people put all sorts of things.
Is it true?
The bicycle thing.
Yes.
Oh, it's true. You know, when you are boisterous, I don't know how you book your but it can trauma.
Yeah.
So it's true. Yeah.
Okay.
So sometimes the opening is not there. It's supposed to be cribbled from like a net, a mesh, so that blood can come
flow
out.
Through.
That's how God made it, so that if you have your men's. But sometimes during the development, the demarcation doesn't happen. So it becomes included. It's covered like that. So there's no way for the blood to come out. So the woman, the young girl would have achieved her menarche. Should be bleeding, but they won't come out. And then you have blood collecting in the vagina and in the uterus, the body of the uterus. So she'll be having severe pain. So when it happens like that, then she comes and we find what it is, and we have to create the opening for the
that sounds painful.
But we done an anesthesia. So
yeah. Oh, okay. So any amount of pain. Outside a little bit of cramping, take your daughter to the hospital.
At least if you know that it's nothing to worry about, then you are reassured. And that one alone can even help you, to bear the pain. Than not knowing what is causing the pain.
Yeah,
so yes, I've had a couple of clients like that, bringing up their little girls, and then we reassure them. Because it can be distressing for the parent too. They don't know when this little girl is in pain, you can't help her, and you don't know what's happening.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what's about the emotional changes that come with menarche?
So it's the same thing that happens when you've achieved your the premenstrual syndrome. If you are going to have it, the initial one may not be there, but then again in medicine you never say never. You can have it. The mood changes, and then the irritability and all of that. You can.
So are these things, because I've noticed with my daughter and other children around her age, from about 9, 10, 11, they start getting moody anyway. And they start, the preteen things that little girls do.
They are becoming women. They become aware of their bodies.
Yes. So is that an indication that menarche is on the way, or is that quite separate?
So it's all part of the thing, because all this is a hormonal.
Okay.
And as I said, before 8 years, usually the hormones are kept at bay. Okay, so after 8 years, when the inhibitory factors are removed and certain organs are producing certain hormones here and there, then all these things come up. You can have all of that. So those ones, coupled with the signs we talked about, the breast bars and then the axillary hair and all that, would let you know that maybe you are getting closer to having your first menses.
Okay. So the emotional changes are fine.
Yeah, those are to be expected.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how to handle them, but that would be outside of this conversation. So what's about the use of tampons with our daughters?
So I don't know how common they are now. But I think the parts are okay, because now you see the tampon for especially for somebody who has just achieved their menarche, it's assumed that the hymen is intact.
Okay.
So you don't go poking things in there.
Okay.
So the pad is the most what's it called? Ideal to use.
I'm asking because a lot of our daughters these days swim. So if they're in their period when they're swimming, and you want to avoid the conversation of you're in your period, so you can't go swimming with the rest of the class, is there an alternative?
But they should understand that you're a woman, and at certain times of the month there are certain things you cannot do.
You can't do, yeah.
And when you grow up, it's all part of it. There are certain things you can't do. You can't wear. If you are a heavy bleeder, like you may not want to wear white clothes. A certain, all these things. So I think it should all be part of it. So she should understand, and then take it from there. Because you know how pools are. If you go and then you mess the pool up, another thing altogether.
Right. When you achieve menarche early, is it an indication of the length that you will experience your period? Does it automatically correlate to an early menopause? Yes
and no, because some of them achieve menarche early and they still have late menopause. And you see, so let's talk about the factors that are involved in the achievement of menarche.
Okay.
So the family history is very, very important.
Okay.
So if you have sisters, you realize that your mother had her menarche maybe when she was 10 or 12, and all things being equal, you all have your menarche around the same time, and also menopause. So I remember I have a client, somebody discussed something, and I asked her, okay, you think you're having your menopause? Is your mom or your big sister still having her menopause? And so she's going to ask and all that. So it's familiar.
Okay.
And then the environment is also very important. Now we talk about socioeconomic status.
Mm-hmm.
It's said that the ladies with a high socioeconomic status they have their menarche earlier than children with less.
How
it's
does
a fact.
that
You know, everything in medicine, the bad one, if you have low socioeconomic status, everything, poverty does everything. All
including early and late periods?
It does.
How does it
does.
affect it?
You know, I mean, there's a diet. The diet even comes in here.
Okay.
So the diet
quality
comes in.
of food.
So the quality of life, all socioeconomics, then the quality of life. So diet also comes in here, and even the race. You know, it's a steady substance. And if you compare the Asians to the Westerners, the Asians have the menopause, what's it called, the menarche later than Asia, the people in the Western.
I see.
So there are a lot of factors. Do you understand? So all these things come to play when you are going to have your menarche. So you can have 2 children born today, one living in Accra somewhere, nice environment, has food, everything, all the thing, and one in a village somewhere, and most likely the one in the high socioeconomic area would have a menarche earlier than the one in the village.
But you didn't fully answer the question on whether an early menarche would indicate an early menopause.
Yeah, that's why I said that it's yes and no.
So it depends.
It depends.
Okay.
It depends.
What's the usual lifespan of your period?
When you say
the
duration?
No, not the 3 to 5 or 7 days. I mean 30 years, 40 years. So when can you expect?
So now let's say that the age of menarche, is up, let's say 12 years. And then in Ghana, research has shown that the menopause is around 48, 51, thereabout.
Okay.
So then you can do the calculation, and then so within that
it
period,
falls within that bracket.
So 48, 51 minus 12, then you get the length. But then again, in all this cycle, there's something we call premature ovarian failure.
Okay.
So you could have somebody 30 years and then she stopped menstruating. You understand? That's premature ovarian failure. That can happen.
Okay.
So along the line, certain things can go on, and then it can happen. And sometimes, surgically, we don't. Yes, I mean we take you have to take the uterus out, so then they're not bleeding.
Then
and all
there's
of
no
that.
bleeding at all.
So those things are also coming.
How long is a normal period?
So anything from 2 to 5, some people even straight to 7 is normal, and then the amount of blood, I mean overall about 80 mils. It's okay.
Okay,
yeah.
80 mils is normal.
That's
because
right.
I was going to ask you about menstruation and anemia. Is there a correlate? Because I've heard this. I've actually heard this so many times. Every time I think it's pretty ridiculous.
So it's a very one of the common things that we battle with.
Okay.
Because when you bleed too much, then you become anemic and you can't do anything.
So you can become anemic.
Oh
from
yes,
too much.
yes. But then you have to find out what we call it AUB, abnormal uterine bleeding. What is causing the bleeding?
Okay.
There are a lot of things that can cause that. Drugs can do that. Okay, you can have uterine anomalies, and the common culprit is the fibroid. Uterine fibroids will cause you to bleed. Cancers can even cause you to bleed. I mean, from the uterus and all that. So you need to find out what is causing that and correct it.
Okay.
Because if you don't correct it, then the bleeding is going to continue. If the person has reproductive wishes, then you are correcting it. Then you need to remove whatever agent is causing that and leave the uterus. If the person does not have reproductive wishes, it makes our work very easy. But then we go in and then you take the uterus out and then case closed.
And then that's it.
Yeah.
So regular periods 2 to 5,
2 to
at
5,
a stretch 7.
Yeah.
Anything over 7 is
Usually you should come check it out.
Okay.
And then the flow. I mean, somebody can't. They will tell you. And during the menses, I'm sure you have friends like that. You won't even see them out because they bled so much that they are weak and they can't do anything. And they are always on hematinics. I mean, to boost their blood levels up and things like that. And some of them know. I mean, I have clients like that. We've talked about it. They need to have surgery to get it out. Fibroids surgery. And they are afraid and things like that. So you need to take time to, get them on. And then sometimes even they are so anemic. I have a client I'm working up now. I mean, she's bleeding, and I'm trying to get the blood up, and it's not working. So something like that, you need to maybe transfuse, get the blood up, do the surgery, and then keep it. Otherwise, you bleed continuously, and then the after effects and the complications for anemia starts in, and then they enter the physician's realm, kidney and all that.
And then it becomes something else.
So if it's like that, we need to find out the cause and then treat it.
And then treat it as soon as possible. So just a recap: if your daughter has started menstruating, anything after 7 days, get it checked out.
No, I think.
No, I'm saying I'm just recapping.
Okay.
That's anything after 7
Yeah,
days.
yeah. Let's
Get
check
it
it out.
checked out. Any abnormal pain outside minor cramps, get it checked out as well. Mainly for your peace of mind, and just so that if there's something wrong, it can be corrected as well. We've been joined in the studio by Mrs. Edith Asare Mensah. She is a public health nurse with the National AIDS Control Program, the Ghana Health Service. Good morning and welcome.
Thank you.
We started the conversation already, but so far we've talked about what menarche is, when to expect it, some of the emotional changes that come. So along your line of work, I'm sure you meet children who are experiencing it all the time. How do you find that they deal with the experience?
Thank you very much, and good morning to
Good
listeners.
morning.
I've been out of air for a while,
Yes.
and I'm happy to be here this morning. Actually, I've had quite a number of cases as a public health nurse with these menarche issues. Some of them are not well informed, and then they just got into it. For me, I didn't know what it was. I was there while I was having these cramps, severe cramps. And when I entered the washroom, all I saw was a spot of blood. So I became scared. And without a preparation, I was living with my dad at the time. And no one taught me anything, but I heard from friends. I was in school. But before then, when I hear my friends menstruating, I'm so excited. So at a point in time, I have to even put a pad there to also see if something will come. But nothing came onto that day. And that was at the age of 16.
Oh, wow.
Exactly. That was at the age of 16. Yes. It's difficult dealing with it because some of the ladies feel shy. They will talk about it. And more so if you are not living with the right person and don't have a good relationship with the person. So making up for that period becomes a problem. So what happened is they resort to other friends and all those things to seek information on what to do. But I think for now, education going on has brought a lot of light to them. And for instance, I know a lot of parents are listening to this. And mostly the parents are not preparing the girls enough. They are not preparing the girls enough because they themselves, how did they meet it? I mean, how did they overcome it when they went through the same thing? So I think it's about time parenting involve all these things because the lady not knowing she's in a menarche, after a few days, she gets into her ovulation. And if she's not fortunate and has to have unprotected sex, she's likely to get pregnant.
Auntie Edith, you've made my heart go into my stomach at this point because I think when we're talking about menarche, most parents, we don't want to think about our children having sex.
That is
at,
it.
at all. But it seems like it's a conversation that has to be had hand in
Exactly.
hand.
Exactly.
Because as soon as our children start to menstruate, and correct me if I'm wrong, it means that they can get pregnant.
Yeah, they are fertile. Because one of the signs of being fertile is having your menarche or your menstruation. At least research has shown. Yes.
Wow.
So let me chip in here.
Yes,
So
please
what
do.
happens is that usually the first few years, maybe 1 or 2 years that you achieve your menarche, the cycles are called anovulatory cycles.
Okay.
So that's why I say usually. But it doesn't mean that you are not ovulate. I mean, for some people you ovulate, but usually not. But then again, to sound a word of caution here too, there are certain people who haven't achieved their menarche, okay, but will ovulate.
Okay, because one of our listeners had texted in. I was going to ask you that at some point. Let me just open that message. It says, please, Enima, ask doctor for me that can a lady become pregnant without her first menstruation?
Very right. Yeah, that's the point I'm making. For some of them, it's not a norm, but it can happen. She hasn't had her menses, but she can ovulate and then get pregnant. So I mean, it's also, I must say, it's important that you talk about. This, as I said, it's not the norm because they're anovulatory, but it can happen, and you can't predict who it will happen to. So then it's very important that we talk about
Exactly.
Is there a way to tell if your daughter is ovulating without her menstruation? Is there a way to tell?
Usually, you there are other things to do, but you can't really tell.
Unless you buy an ovulation kit.
Even that one tells you about the ovulation kit. Is what it reads the hormone levels, which may be right. I mean, early stage and all of that, but it doesn't really tell that the ovulation is taking place. Okay, so you can't really tell. So it's very important that we chip in the sex
Exactly.
bit about menses, that they are now women, so that they can get pregnant.
Okay.
Because you don't know whether she's in the group that will be anovulated for the few years or not.
Or whether, yeah.
So then they need to have that conversation, and then chip it in.
Auntie, have you had that conversation with school children and
I've had with my daughters and quite some few young ones I have had an opportunity to meet with. And what happens, they ask all these questions. So will I be pregnant if I have sex the day I saw my menses? And there are some who within the time of menstruating are still ovulating. Yeah, so they could get pregnant. We have quite a number of cases like that. And some will ask, so what time will I become pregnant if I have sex after menses? So that's why it's very important that as a woman, once you see your menarche, you should be able to calculate your menstrual cycle. So it's important also because normally when women visit the hospital, irrespective of going for gynecological reasons or not, they are asked about their menstrual cycle. When did you last menstruate? And it's important that women as we are, we need to know. So there's a need to keep a calendar for you. So when the first day you see your cycle, you circle it. And then you can use a red pen. So you look at the number of days you flow. So at the end of it, you can also cycle it because the cycles varies with individuals, depending on where you are coming from, your environment and all those things. So some could have 28, 26, some could even have 30.
Okay.
Some could even, within 2 weeks after menses, they could start menstruating. So that depends on the individual. And a lot of factors come into play here.
Okay, can you just give me an idea of how you had the talk with your daughters and with others, just for parents who are listening who may be wondering how to go about it, and also especially how to deal with the questions that come up about sex? Because for me, if you ask me about sex, I'll just shout and say no, no sex. But I also understand that we have to teach our children.
It's very important.
Yes.
Thank you very much. We normally tag the education with the ages. Excuse me. So because these days we are having a lot of issues coming to deal with rape and all those things. So I think it's important we start from early age where they know their body parts, so they know what it's meant for. But then there should be a caution, so that when someone is making advances, they can tell. Because we have quite a number of cases where 2 years and a whole lot. I have a case now. The child was defiled at the age of 2, and as I speak, there are issues. She's now 13. Yes, and then she has issues. She has always to wet the bed and all those things. So the mommy is having problems with going for surgery. So it's becoming a problem. So for such children, we need to also educate them. Now, you are a girl, and get to know that as a girl, at this age, you have all the developmental issues around you. Your breasts come out and it's for a purpose. You see hair around your pubic area and all those things. And that tells that you are maturing. So that's why we tag education looking at the ages. So probably from age 2 thereabout, then the child will beat the back, the buttocks. So you ask the child, do you know about this thing? The child said, no, it's my bamba. And then they have a whole lot of answers to those things. So you tell them yes. And for me, what I did was, I said, if even daddy will have to touch your back, then daddy doesn't have any good intention. Because if he does it becomes so familiar. I'm not saying that he does. So when it becomes so familiar, it's easy even to move on with other advances.
Other things. And then when other people touch your back,
it's normal. It is normal. So we need to clearly define what the normal is and what the abnormality is. And also among their peers when they are together. Because some of these children have had exposures. And normally they want to manipulate some of these children. They are in school. We've had quite a number of cases where in school, children will walk into the washroom and a whole lot of guys will walk to the child. And then they start manipulating the breast and all those things because they have seen parents or other people they are living with doing this. So we need to educate them. And then for the girls, they must know their body part as well, their breast, what is meant for. They are also, so what is here, especially when it comes to do with the vulva. They will ask, Mommy, so what is there? So you need to tell the child, say, woman, this is what you have. And that is where you've been having babies from. So as she ages, you continue with the education. We shouldn't ignore the questions they ask us because all you know, they have answers to those questions. So if you think you are hiding those answers from them, they already know, but they want to confirm what they know.
So when they start, developing the breast buds and the
Exactly.
hair, it's a good time to change the story
Exactly.
from God gives the seed and the
Thank
watermelon.
you. Exactly. For them to know. Because quite a number of children I've had interaction with, as soon as you ask, they say, Mommy taught me that this is my vulva. And in the vulva, there is a vagina. So if I allow any boy to put something in, I'll get infection or I'll be pregnant. All my daddy told me was, if I have sex, I'll get pregnant. So that fear was in my mind. So I delayed my first
sexual experience, which may not be a bad
yeah, exactly.
thing.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
But for children these days, we know they are advancing. They are watching things on the phones. We leave our phones with them, and they go to YouTube and they Google and go and get a lot of information.
Yeah, I remember maybe about 3 months ago, my daughter asked me if I'd had an abortion before. It was so random. It takes you.
Yes.
I wish there would be like a warning. I'm about to ask you a question.
They just
ask, and it
Yes.
also means that they're having conversations
Exactly.
within each other. So we can't
No, we
close our
can't.
eyes.
But then we need to do that with a caution. Exactly. So, for instance, you tell the girl once the breasts are coming out, it shows a sign of she being matured and becoming a woman. So, at any attempt to have sex, she can become pregnant. So then she will ask, "What do I do to become pregnant?" She knows, but she will ask you. Tell them, pregnancy occurs between a male and a female. And currently, as I speak, we're having a whole lot of sexual issues where we have 2 males having sex, 2 females having sex, and a hollow. So some of them think, oh, when I have it with a female, if I'm a female and I have it with a female, it's normal. But then we need to caution them.
Wow. Yes,
And
doctor.
then just to chip in, this issue of pregnancy in men, it's not a joke.
It's not.
About 3 or 4 years ago, I had this 11-year-old girl. She lived with her grandmom in my work area, and then she was raped, and she got pregnant. And for some reason, they didn't want to terminate it. So I took her as my project. So when she comes 11, when she comes to the clinic, I see her in my office separately, and she goes. And then because of her body wasn't ready for delivery, I planned an elective for her. Just when I left theater with her and I went to the labor ward, there was another girl, 12-year-old. She never came to the hospital, and then she came to deliver. So that day, I remember that they had 11 and 12. They had babies. So it's real. It's not something that like the books about. It's real. I've seen it.
Very real.
This is about 3 or 4 years ago.
Very real.
11 and 12. They had babies. Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to imagine. I can't. But wow. So I think that this really brings to the forefront that we cannot be silent.
No.
About those days of not
At
talking
all.
about it are gone.
At all.
But Auntie Edith, when you were talking, you mentioned how the girls would keep on asking you
Exactly.
about pregnancy and sex and so they are very curious.
Exactly. And some have already started taking medication because friends are taking it to prevent pregnancy.
Where are they getting it from?
That is it. Information is all over the internet among their friends, their peers, and they are very comfortable with peers. I chanced upon some young ladies around 11, 12, 13. So the 13 said, "Oh, I took it. It was nice. So we can also try it." So then I asked, "Oh, can I also be part of your conversation?" They kept quiet. I said, "Oh, don't feel bad. You are my daughters." And I work with such group people. So she told me, well, there's a drug that the guy introduced to her that when she takes it, she will not be pregnant. And she has had her first sexual intercourse. And she has menstruated.
And she's on contraception.
And this wasn't prescribed. She didn't go to the right person to have the service. She bought it from the counter.
Which also then brings the conversation of pharmacies and chemical shops selling.
Exactly.
I mean, how would you sell contraception to a 13-year unless they go and say, "Oh, my mother sent me."
Matured minor. She appears. She said, "I want condom," or "I want this." Why not? And some of them are using it as a money-making venture. So they will sell to them. And now it's it's running on the market, especially at the chemist shop, which they are not supposed to sell. And they are selling. So I'm saying currently that if we have to look on the cohort of these young ones who are on these contraceptives and follow them up into the future, it will affect their fertility. Seriously.
I wanted to talk about contraception a little later, but since it's come up, we might as well just talk about it, Doc. So, Auntie Edith is just talking about the fact that it could affect their fertility, one. But when your daughter starts to menstruate, is it realistic to start thinking of contraception methods?
It's a very difficult one. It's like, we all play the ostrich. I mean,
my daughter is not like that.
No,
she will not be having.
This is a practical one.
Yeah.
I have a client. She's like 30 years. 30. And then I hear when she was telling me in confidence, and when she even goes to church, the father waits for her at the outside the church and takes her home. When they were in school, he didn't let you go anywhere. So I asked her, so all of this, did it prevent you from having sex? Oh,
probably not.
They had their ways of sorting it out. So it's like the ostrich thing. You think that won't happen. And for me as a father, I mean, like, it's scary, what is some boy doing to your daughter and all of that.
Yeah.
And it's a scary thing. But I think that, as you said, we need to talk to them. Let them know their bodies and let them be confident to tell us things. We should be open with them. Because if they have confidence in you and then they are cool with you in that sense, they'll tell you things. But if they go seek questions elsewhere, and she made a very good point that when they ask you, they already know. They want confirmation.
It's like when your wife asks you a question and
you know that one. She like, so you see the womanhood. So he started like, only man did that, and he's asking you. So you are better off sitting them down and telling them. Then you build some confidence with them, so that they know they can come to you. But if you play avoidance, then they go seeking answers elsewhere, and they won't tell you anything. And you think that, as for me, my child is an angel, is not doing this, and they are doing things. And actually, the technology is just recently I was seeing something on YouTube for kids. I mean, we think it's supposed to be safe, and somebody said she found something there about how to commit suicide, and it was there. I'm sure you heard it.
Yeah.
And these things are real. And the children, they will take your phone, 3-year-old. I mean, so it's rampant. So I think that a lot of work has to be done on the parent side, and then when they go to school, when they come home too, as parents, we should also continue and then be able to talk to them so that they can tell us things. Because if they're not able to come to you freely to ask questions and tell you things, you've lost it.
Auntie, have we reached the point where we have to start giving our children condoms when they are leaving the house?
It could be yes or no, because you might not know how the child will play it. Some will say you are promoting it, but then if you assess the child, how would you even know if the child is into sexual relationship? That is the only thing. So probably the best thing is to give information, let them know where they can get those commodities.
Wow.
You don't know. Yes.
Wow.
You can't run away from it, because like he's mentioned, there was this lady of 30 being monitored by the daddy, but she had a way out. The daddy presumed she's a virgin, but she's not.
This is a tough one. It's tough. It's tough. How do we even prepare our children emotionally? And I'm taking this line of conversation because what you said really struck me, that a lot of the children, as soon as period comes, they're talking about sex. Sure. And obviously the sexual desire also comes around the same time. Yeah. So they have these desires. How do we prepare them emotionally?
Yeah, well, I think it should be one-on-one. Find out who your child is. Are you the authoritative type? Do you impose things? If you impose, you will not get any information. Before I continue this, I was home when the vows day. My daughter said she was passing when she heard some young school girls that I can't just wait to break my virginity. That was 12 years. I can't just wait to break my virginity. So the first virginity she's going to break, is she going to use condom? Does she know about contraceptive? Even if she knows, she just knows about the fact that when it's vows day, then I need to have a guy in my life. And who is that guy coming to break that virginity?
At 13 or 14, why do you need to have a guy in your life?
Yes.
But it's happening.
It's happening.
Wow.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm just it's
yeah.
If you're just tuning in, this is Home Affairs here on Joy 99.7 FM. We're talking about menarche, the first period, first menstruation, and everything that goes along with it. I have Dr. James Boakye and Auntie Edith, Mrs. Edith Asare-Mensah, in the studio with me. Remember, Home Affairs is brought to you by Indomie. Indomie tastes Great. Now, we know that Indomie is a complete, wholesome, and delicious meal full of essential nutrients and rich in calcium, proteins, carbohydrates, and vitamins. So you can have it at any time and anywhere. Also, you can add your personal touch to your favorite Indomie meal by adding your choice of ingredients like vegetables, eggs, fish, chicken, meat, and prepare Indomie the way you love. So go and love it your way. For tasty Indomie recipes and other details, check out Indomie's Ghana page on Facebook and Instagram. Indomie tastes great. If you're looking for clothes to buy, then Nalem Clothing is the best place to buy quality and elegant Afrocentric garments and fashionable accessories. And all of these have been outdoored at Nalem for you. The Nalem Bazaar train is offering amazing discounts at various Nalem shops across the major malls and other centers as we celebrate Independence Month. This weekend, the Bazaar train will stop at Achimota and the Trade Fair Center. Rush there and grab your Nalem clothes. Gift vouchers are also available. You can also shop online at www.nalemstore, which is one word.com, or www.ahomstore, that's AHOOM store.com, which is also one word. Kindly call Nalem on 050-139-7814 or 050-158-6418 for a real shopping experience. Nalem Ayede, where Nalem, where Ghana. Terms and conditions apply. We have about 18 minutes to the end of the show. So what we're going to do now is we're going to talk about hygiene around periods. And then I'm going to forward your questions to Doc and to Auntie Edith as well. So we'll also be opening the phone lines at around 7:22. So maybe in the next 10 minutes as well, so that you can call in and ask your questions. So Auntie Edith, I'll come to you with the hygiene conversation. How do we prepare our children in terms of keeping themselves clean and all of that?
Very well. Thank you so much. And when it has to do with hygiene, it's very important because at the time of menstruating, the lady is open up. So a lot of infection can go there. So first of all, we need to teach her how to manage herself in terms of how to wash the vulva when she's menstruating. Normally, some will want to wash with soap and a whole lot, but I need to educate them. And also how to keep what to use when she's menstruating.
Okay, so just touching on your point with soap. So educate not to wash with soap.
Exactly. It's not important you wash with soap because whatever you do is not going to take away whatever is there.
So just
ordinary water, clean water.
Okay.
Yes.
What about the feminine products?
Please, let's go for water. Let's go for water. Because once you talk about feminine products, they go and they don't use water, and then they come back with infections.
Okay.
Because a lot of them pick infections after their menses, especially those who bleed heavily. What they do is that I don't know whether we still have the tampon. Some would use the tampon, insert it, and keep it there for a long time. But remember, they could also run into shock when they bleed a lot and the tampon stays there.
Okay.
And it can also inhibit the growth of other microorganisms. So once you are bleeding.
So just water.
Just water.
And that applies to all women.
All women across. And then you need not put your finger into the vagina.
I was just going to ask you that.
There's no need to put your finger into the vagina. You are bleeding. The vagina itself cleanses itself.
Yes.
So just leave it. And then after washing, what you can do is that dry the place very well. And then what you use is also very important, because normally what I see a lot of young ones doing is they go, if a woman's closer to themselves cotton, they go and say, I'll buy 1 cedi. I'll buy 50 pesos. So the woman uses their fingers to tear
the cotton.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if it's contaminated, you are going to infect yourself. So what we recommend is, if you want to use the cotton wool, what you can do is that get a pack,
full one.
Exactly. And then separate them into pieces. Keep them, wrap them nicely so that you can use. If you can afford the pad too, you can also have the pad. The pad too, some of them will buy, I will buy 1, I'll buy 2. Then they go for it. Meanwhile, someone is using their fingers to pick it. As I speak now, the pad, I don't think is very expensive now. But it's very difficult. It's difficult for some ladies to get it, because here they are living with someone who doesn't provide all these things. So they have to struggle to get all these
comparatively, if it's cheaper to spend the 4 cedis or the 5 cedis to buy the pad than to treat an infection.
Exactly. But does she have the means to buy it?
Yeah.
If the means is not there, she can. So I make a lot of young friends among them. So what I do, I can provide for them is the pad and all those things, because it's a difficult moment if you don't take care of that. And also the panties you use.
Okay.
We recommend that you can have some panties separated for your menses. Exactly. And then make sure you wash them very well. And if you are the type that bleeds heavily, what you can do is that keep an extra pad so that you can change yourself more often.
Okay.
Exactly.
In terms of washing underwear, for period panties, would you recommend hot water, Dettol, Savlon, some sort of antiseptic,
some
or just
lukewarm? If you have the Dettol and you can provide, fine. You can add a little into the water. Just, the Dettol is just to provide some scent around you.
Okay.
Exactly. So
Okay.
not for any reason. But some of them, what they do is that they pour this water, the Dettol into water, a whole pail of water, then start washing the place.
That was my next question.
Exactly.
Yes.
So when you do that, you destroy the normal flora there. So just ordinary water, wash it. If you have the Dettol you can provide, just why not? And then make sure you change yourself more often.
And Auntie Edith is talking about the provision of Dettol for the washing of underwear,
Exactly.
not for the washing of the
Exactly.
vagina.
Exactly.
So you will not recommend
I will
using
not
any
recommend
sort of
using-
antiseptic
no,
or
no,
anything.
not
Just
at all.
water is fine.
Just ordinary water is okay. And the panties you use, make sure they are washed well, dry under the sun. If the sun is not there, why not iron them? Some of them have only 2 panties, and they manages their cycle with the 2 panties. And when they finish, it's the same panties they use.
Wow.
It might surprise you to know about this. So parents, check on your wall's panties. Even if the person is a maid to you, please check. As much as you treat your children very well, extend that arm of treatment to that child, because she's somebody's hope in future.
Yeah.
It's very, very important.
Very important.
And then it might surprise you to know that some of these children living with these people, they go and then they take care of their children and neglect those children. They'll go and seek the crosses in the church and come back. So what can you do to offer to that child? That's the only thing. And after that, what you can also educate the child to do is that after the menses, she can gather all those panties, wash them again, because during the time of your cycle, you couldn't have time to wash them very well. Probably you were in a hurry going to school and then you couldn't wash them and dry them. So when you finish,
the weekend, wash all of them.
And their towels is also very important.
Okay.
Ideally, a woman, if you can have 2 towels to manage in a week, is fine. But if you can and it's one, at the end of the week, why not soak it and wash it, dry it under the sun, because some of us will dry in the bathroom.
I remember growing up, my mother used to boil our towels. I don't know what that was about, but is it something? Is it something that you were boiling of towels?
Well, she's thinking maybe during the course of using, you might have attracted some microorganisms, so she's trying to kill them hard
by boiling
them.
Towels, yeah.
That's
Oh,
funny.
one way of
that's the thing.
one way of disinfecting is boiling. We can use the boiling method.
All right.
Yeah,
so boil up.
she did
Yeah.
Yeah, but would we all have time to do it if you are in school?
But it's mainly really the hot water
Exactly,
to kill and then hang it in the sunlight. It's
Exactly.
7:19 here on
Exactly.
Joy FM. I'm opening the phone lines 0302
Exactly.
216 541 03. Okay,
yes,
go ahead.
and taking their bath, at least if you are in your menses, wash it down twice in the
Okay.
day. It's very, very important.
Okay.
Very,
yeah,
very
to
important.
avoid
Exactly.
to avoid smells.
Because some of them say they can't take their bath. So at least what you can do to yourself is just get the water, rinse that area, the vulva area, and then change the pad.
Change them.
Because the hormones are in place working.
Okay.
Exactly.
So 0302 216 541. Doc, talking about smells. When do you know that something is off? The smell, and I'm sorry if I'm being a bit graphic, but the smell of blood, of period blood, kind of varies, from the beginning when it's not red to when it becomes red, and then to the end when it's not as red. What should you expect in terms of smell, and when do you know that it's gone past a certain point and you have to go to the hospital?
Just like Auntie Dee said, see, blood is a very rich medium, a culture medium to culture microbes and things like that. So that's why she said it's important that at least, even if you are one day shower woman, when you are in your menses, you try and have it twice, because you don't want to create that medium there. So when oxygen, even other microbes act on it, there are reactions that occur,
You
and they
start growing
produce
all sorts of
all
things
these
down
things.
there.
Do you understand? So yes, I know it, I think it's woman dependent. Some women don't really mind, but some do. Some people will change themselves. I didn't drip of blood, they want to change. But as you said, at least if you can have your bath in the morning, and then have your bath in the evening, change your pad, and go to sleep. It should work out.
It should be fine.
It
So
should
you
be
can
fine.
expect a certain degree of smell.
Of
because
course.
blood.
I mean, if maybe you were into meetings, you have your menses, and it's a long day. You've not even got the opportunity to go and change, and then you go home in the evening. The way you smell down there will be different from if you probably had time to change yourself during the afternoon. So because blood is a cultural medium, so the longer it stays, then you have that.
Okay.
So
All right. So we have Stella on the phone lines. Good morning, Stella.
Good morning, Auntie.
Good. How are you?
I'm fine.
Okay. Please ask your question.
Yeah, please. At what age should we start? Because I also have a small girl, like 7 years. So the question is the education about somebody touching your bums here and there. What age should we start?
Okay. All right. I'll give your question to Auntie Edith to answer. Thank you for calling, Stella. Auntie Edith, she's asking what age to start the education. We talked about that at the beginning of the show, but maybe she missed it. So if you can just...
Thank you very much. Not on the menarche, but before then, from age 2, they are aware of themselves. So teach them about their body parts. So normally the education is targeted towards the age. Okay. So from that, as they mature, then you start, when you see the breasts and all those things coming, let them know they are for reasons. And also when the menarche, for now, some children are having the menarche at age 8. Yeah, you can also start before then and tell them how to keep. Age 8, what does she know? So taking care of herself become a problem. So you need to teach her. So that's why the parent is there. And these days we leave home early, come at dawn. We are all chasing money. So where are we to teach them? And the persons we leave them with, what do they know to teach our children?
Them, yeah.
We think they are there to give them support.
Okay.
Yeah, but then they are not there to teach them. So we need to do weekends. Let's spend time for our children.
Okay.
So you can start early, looking at the ages as she moves on, because normally we have some early maturers. When doctor mentioned that environmental factor, ethnicity and all those things could play a role on when the child can have a menarche. So when she's an early maturer, she could have a menarche early. At times you can have it at age 8 or 12.
Okay.
Now, studies have revealed that it's at age 12, but you can have most of them too at age 8, and it might surprise you to know it. So you start all around this time, and also the body part is important. And when people make advances, they will know. So don't shy away. More so, find out what they know. Don't think they don't know. They know a lot, so you need to explore what they know, and then you add on what they know.
You fill in the gaps.
Exactly.
Okay, Doc, you want to say something?
Yes, and then to continue, see, they give us signs. Like I asked my daughter, there are opportunities for us to start the conversation, because sometimes when to initiate it is the issue. So, Insha, if you are listening, when I come home, we'll continue the conversation, because it was I was going out of the house actually, but I think now it's dawned on me that it was a good opportunity that I missed, and then I'm going to continue. I'm sure she's listening when I go back home.
We have Edith on the line. Good morning, Edith.
Hi, good morning.
Morning. Please ask your question.
Okay, so I want to talk to doctor.
Go ahead.
So since I started my menstruation, and after a while, when I completed SHS, I was in a boarding school. So I completed at 2012, and after I started getting this severe menses pain, and it's really bad. I can't go to work when it comes. I can't sit. I can't do anything. I have to show up every time. It's really bad. So I don't know if doctor can help me. Something.
Okay. All right. Doc will answer your question in a second. Thank you for calling. Okay, Doc, over to you.
Yes, thank you for calling. And that's what we talked about. That's what we call dysmenorrhea, the pain. And a lot of things can cause that. But the severe ones, like what she's describing, is something like endometriosis that we talked about briefly. And that one, she needs to be investigated and then found out, because you need to know exactly what is causing it to have that pain. And then we rectify it as such if we can, or we manage it. So she needs to see her gynecologist, and then who examine her, do a few tests. I mean, if they can do a laparoscopy, which is the gold standard to diagnose it, and then take it off from there.
Yeah. This one says, good morning. We need parents to teach this with tact, because my in-laws have scared my wife about sex to the extent that she won't just have sex except at night and one style. It's boring, but I can't change it. So I guess that's Samuel Sandem. I guess what he's saying is that in the process of educating, we should be careful about instilling fear.
Exactly.
Which we do a little bit, because I mean, you don't want your 10-year, 11-year-old having sex. So you kind of put some fear into it. MJ is calling us. Let me just pick that call now. MJ, good morning.
Hello, good morning. How are you
Hi.
doing?
Very well, thank you. Yourself?
I just want to thank your panelists this morning for the wonderful job they are doing, especially Mrs. Udeta Saremensa. And then I want to say that initially during our time, it was quite difficult or different, where our parents really couldn't take us through this. But these days, they clicked, like Mrs. Saremensa was saying, way more than we even think we know.
Yeah.
There was this situation that I had this little girl with me who was having this severe dysmenorrhea. And it will surprise you to know that when she started, I didn't even know. And she was doing all kinds of things because I wasn't even at home. I was out there. And then when I got back to the house, what I saw was very disheartening. So I think that educating our kids on this is really very important. Very, very, very important.
Okay, yes, definitely. Thank you very much for calling, MJ. This message says, of the truth, our kids are more exposed to the world now than we were. Let's guide them to go through this challenging world. That's from Wisdom in Osu. Doc, this question is for you. Please, is it normal to have your menstruation 2 or 3 months after your first? I think you've answered that already.
That,
yeah.
which is normal, yeah.
Yes. This one. So yes, it is normal. 2-3 months, sometimes even 6 months,
Yeah.
which is what Doc said. This one says, a worried father from Ekrupa. He says, I've seen my 13-year-old boy masturbating. Your candid opinion about it. So, Doc, it's kind of out of what we're talking about, but I mean, why not? If you could address that quickly for us.
I mean, so luckily he's seen him do it. Probably he saw it somewhere. He doesn't know the implications of masturbation and he's just experimenting with his body. So I think it's an opportunity for him to tap in now and really school him about the negatives of masturbation, the fact that that's not what the penis is not supposed to be used for, and the fact that now that she's been masturbating, she can impregnate another.
Because the sexual desire grows.
You know, so that's the missed opportunities. This was an opportunity for him. So if he's seen it, I think it's an opportunity for him to now build the confidence, talk to him, build the confidence, and then they start from somewhere. As one of the texters said, they're exposed and they are seeing things.
So there's no
if you
use
behave like
hiding.
the ostrich and think that they are not seeing, you are joking.
You are. Boateng Salifu is calling us. Good morning, Boateng.
Good morning.
Morning. Please ask your question.
My name is Boateng Salifu calling from Choco.
Okay. Go ahead.
I want to ask her that they are saying that some people, when they are menstruating, there will be no blood flowing through their vagina, but they will get fine through their arms and some itchings. And if it is so, it is good for a man to have sex with that woman when there's no blood flowing through the vagina. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Boateng Salifu. Did Doc?
Yeah, I think he's the point I talked about imperforate hymen, where the hymen is not perforated, it's closed, so that the blood collects in the uterus and then in the vagina that has to come out. So usually in such cases there's a covering which needs to be surgically dealt with. So I don't exactly know what he's talking about, but usually it will be even difficult even to have sex because the hymen is not perforated. So you need to sort that one out.
Right. Well, thank you very much. We've run out of time. I'm sure we could do this for another hour. So very interesting conversation. If you've been listening to us, I hope that if you have daughters, you will have the conversation with us. One major takeaway for me from what Doc has been saying is that we cannot behave like an ostrich. You can't put your head in the sand and think that the world is not moving on. Our children are more exposed than they've ever been, so they know things. And like Doc said, and Auntie did, by the time they ask you the question, chances are they already have an idea. The thing is whether the idea that they have, is it the right one or is it the wrong one? So take every learning opportunity that comes your way. Let's be bold and courageous parents and have those difficult conversations with our children. But it's the year of return, and Labadi Beach Hotel presents the biggest event dubbed the Independence Concert with BET Award winner Stonebwoy and the BIM Band, happening live on Tuesday, 5th of March 2019 from 6 p.m. and featuring Ovi, the MTN Hitmaker 2018, Kelvin Boy, and DJ Justice. Get your tickets at 100 CDs regular, 150 Ghana CDs, and 250 CDs VVIP from Labadi Beach Hotel. Joy FM, Kuala Osu, Bachona Total, Spintex, X-Men, Grooming, East Legon, online at ticketmiller.com, or you can use the short code *714*5*2#. I'll take it again. *714*5*2# on all networks. This event is sponsored by Bell Beverages, Tema Craft, Beer, Bell Aqua, and Accra Brewery Limited. The Independence concert with Stoneboy at Labadi Beach Hotel. Come and let's jam. And it's Saturday. Your weekend can only get better. Relationships, family, fashion, lifestyle, health, wellness, recipes, shopping, financial matters, leadership, and what have you. So for dads, moms, brothers, sisters, kids, everything you need basically is in the Mirror. So remember that you can buy the Mirror this and every Saturday. The Mirror, Ghana's most popular family weekend news platform. I'd like to say a very big thank you to Dr. James Boachi, he's a gynecologist at Lekema, and to Mrs. Edith Asaramenta for joining us this morning to have this conversation about menarche. Stay tuned. The Weekend City show comes up. My name is Inima Inimado. Have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.